Hi, here's a short video on how to create a pulley as defined in Chapter 1, Tutorial 5 of the textbook Introduction to Solid Modeling Using Solidworks by McGraw-Hill. Now the first thing they ask us to do is to create this part, this pulley, using an ANSI drafting standard with our length dimensions to 3 decimal places, our angles to 0 decimal places, and they want it to be in inches. So in order to do all that, we need to first tell SolidWorks we want to create a part, and so I click on the new icon, and I can get either a part, assembly, or drawing. Your screen might look like this one, or it might look like this that pops up. It doesn't matter which one. Highlight part and click OK. Then we want to go to the options, the gear, at the top right above the command manager line, and we're going to click document properties, units, set it to inches, pounds, seconds. The length we said was going to be 3 decimal places. The angles were going to be 0 or none, and we'll click OK. And then I forgot that we need to make sure that we're in ANSI for our drafting standard, so I'll go back very quickly and just check document properties, drafting standards, ANSI modified. So we're good. It's modified because we changed the number of decimal places. Okay. Next thing we need to do, and we can verify that it's inches, pounds, seconds, also by looking in the lower right hand. First thing off is we want to sketch on the right plane if we follow the textbook. So we highlight right plane, click the sketch button. If you don't have a tab saying sketch and another one saying features, right click on whatever tabs are there, go to the tab button or tab selection, a drop down cascading menu will appear, and you can put a check mark next to features and sketch so that those are displayed for you. In my case, they're already there. If you wanted to remove one, you could uncheck one of those. So I click on sketch. Right plane was highlighted, so it shows me that I'm now sketching on the right plane of my three-dimensional part that I'm going to create. So my first thing I'm told to do is make a center line, or a construction line it's also known as. Starting at the origin, I'll draw it out to the right. You'll see that there was a little yellow box there a second ago. That added this relation that makes it horizontal. Okay, I'll show you some more of those in just a moment. The next thing we want to do is click the green check mark twice to say we're done doing lines, and we want to click where it shows rectangles. And I can do the drop down list and say I want to do a center rectangle, or you can see when I clicked on the rectangle icon on the property manager on the left side, the rectangle types, there's different ones I can check. So I could, oops, I'm sorry, I removed that. Okay, so there it is with the center rectangle. Actually, I made my line horizontal. I need a vertical center line. So I did that wrong initially. So let's go back and make a vertical one. And now you can see that little yellow box with the vertical line. That's that relation that I was talking about that's added here. So now I have two construction lines, one horizontal, one vertical. I'm going to end up using both of those. I'll go to my center rectangle. They ask us to draw one rectangle around this position, another one up here. It doesn't matter what the units are, how high or far they or wide they are, that type of thing. And then it says create a third rectangle using the corner rectangles, where we move our mouse to the bottom of the top rectangle down to the top of the first one, and then we know we're there because it highlights it and turns it orange. Okay, so now I have 3 different rectangles, 2 of which are already centered around this vertical line, but this one isn't. So in order to do that, we'll add another relation, okay, which is a constraint on this rectangle to make this line and this line equidistant from the center line. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do. We hold down the control key to do multiple selections. I'll select the two sides and then that construction line. And then I go and look on the left side of the screen, and we can see there's the symmetric icon. I do that to select it, highlight it. It adds that symmetry relation. And now, no matter how I move this side, one side, the other side moves the same amount. Okay? Next thing they have us do is add some dimensions. The first set of dimensions they want us to add are the horizontal dimensions. So I click the Smart Dimension button on the Command Manager. We'll start at the top, and that one's supposed to be 1.5 inches. So I type 1.5, and that changes that. The next dimension is the bottom, and that's supposed to be 2 inches. So whatever I drew it at, which was 1.7 something, changed to now 2. And then we're supposed to also define the distance between these two. That line and that line is not to be 0.05, but 0.25. So I change that, and now I have a model that looks like what you're seeing on the screen. The next thing we need to do is talk about the distance of this line to this line, or this to that. In other words, the height of this part. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this line that's that horizontal construction line and have it automatically define the dimensions as symmetry dimensions. And you'll see what I mean as I do this. So I'm going to first click the top of the part, the top of that sketch. Then I go down and click that horizontal dashed line. And right now it has a distance of 1.284. Notice though, if I move my mouse down below, it doubles that value, and it shows the dimension an equidistance from that origin or that horizontal line that I drew. And they really want that value to be 7. So they want this part to be much taller. So I have to shrink it out. Then we do the same thing again. And I want it to be 5. And I'm just going to move these guys a little bit. So let's move that 5 to there, the 7 to there. And then what's this height? Okay, this one, they told us to make it 1.75. Click OK. And then finally, that dimension needs to be, I think, 1. Okay, so now we have the basic shape of our pulley as a two-dimensional view, but it hasn't been rotated yet, because that's how we're going to make our square set of squares that we drew, or rectangles, I should more appropriately call them. We're going to turn those into a 3D design that is actually a round pulley. So the way we do that is we click the Features tab and click Revolved Boss Base. And when I do that, the left side of the screen changes, and it says, okay, you want to revolve something around something else to turn a 2D sketch into a 3D sketch. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. First thing it asks is, what are we revolving around? So I click that box called Axis of Revolution, and then highlight or select that horizontal line that we drew, called line 1. Now I go down to where it says Selected Contours. If I select this top rectangle, now it shows it to me as a revolved rectangle, one that's been spun around that horizontal line that we drew. And I can do the same thing for the middle rectangle, and finally for the bottom. And I put all three in that Selected Contours, and now I have my base shape of my pulley. And that's cool. And now I'm ready to save it, so I go up and hit the Save button, and I might as well type not Part 5, but a name I'll be able to recognize, and I'll call it Pulley. And then I hit Save, and this is being saved in my Downloads folder, and I'm going to say yes, so that's the name that I want it to be. Next thing I need to do is, my pulley though needs to have a little channel cut in it. So let's do that. So we're going to do a new sketch by clicking the Sketch tab, clicking on the right plane, clicking the Sketch button. It rotates my view again. And now if I look at carefully in the book, on figure 176 and through probably 180, I can see the dimensions that I need to make for this little channel that I also want to revolve around my pulley. So in order to do that, they suggest that we draw the basic shape of the channel using 4 lines. So they want us to draw a line that's parallel with the top of the part, or not symmetric, but is collinear with that top edge. So I'm going to draw a line, and I know I'm there because notice if I'm off that top edge, it's yellow. So I move it down, it turns orange. So that gives me that. Then I need to be at some sort of angle, and then go over horizontally, and then go up and connect to finish my little trapezoidal shape. Okay, so there I have my 4 things. Now I need to, of course, dimension those and maybe constrain those a little bit so that they are fixed in position. And that I know because the lines will change from blue to black to represent that sketch is non-movable, non-changeable. Okay, that's what we mean when we say a fully defined sketch. All the lines are black. So one of the things they suggest we do is use another vertical line as a center line coming from the origin. Okay, so I'm going to draw one just like they suggest. I could have used my old one that I had, but that was on a different sketch. Now let's make this line and this one symmetric with this. So all I have to do is the same thing I did before. Hold down the Control key, select my 2 lines, the one I want them symmetric around, and click Symmetry. And now it moves them so that they are similar on each side. So if I make this bigger, notice what it does. Okay? Kind of cool. That symmetry relation is really kind of a nice one. Alright, now the angle between those 2 lines needs to be 40 degrees. Let's make that. So I'm going to do 40. And then the length of this bottom part needs to be a 1/2 inch. So let's do that. And then finally the distance from there to there also needs to be a 1/2 inch. So now notice that sketch turned all black. That means it's fixed. It cannot be moved, cannot be changed in any way. I click OK to say I'm done with doing dimensions. The next thing I want to do is another feature. This time I want to do a revolve, but a cut. I want to remove the material that's inside this trapezoid. So I do a revolved cut, and I need to tell it, the line that I want to revolve around. So how do I do that? I don't have that line. Fast way to do that, since we're running out of time, would be to go back and edit this sketch. Put in another horizontal line before we again run out of time for that sketch. Okay, now I got that. Now I can go back to that feature, revolve cut. Axis of revolution is going to be that. The sketch is there. They'd already figured out there's only one contour. So now I have it. And basically my pulley is done. The only thing I have to still do, and I've run out of time to show it to you, but you can see how to do it in the textbook. It's quite easy. You would rotate your view to the front view, and you'll put in a little cutout there to make a keyhole. Okay, and that's all there is to doing this